Last episode was our first episode with Sign as a true-blooded member of the party, and as surprising as that turn of events was, I really enjoyed seeing it, frankly. I really enjoyed seeing him as a character getting to get some initial development, and I also just enjoyed a lot of other things about the episode, and if you want to know more about that, you can obviously go watch last episode's video if you have not seen it already. However, there is something that I talked about last episode, and I've also talked about it a few times briefly prior to last episode. But there was one aspect of it that I haven't touched on yet, and I just want to briefly mention it here now, which is in talking about the kind of potential possible dynamics of Frieren and Himmel's past relationship. I have talked about the idea that it was mutual, that it was reciprocated between the both of them. I've talked about Himmel's affections being unrequited and Frieren being like most of her race, as she has admitted, and not being interested in romance or sexual activities. However, there is another possibility that I haven't talked about, and I just want to very briefly say that I would also, for various reasons, with the information that has been shown to us thus far in the series, I would also not be surprised if the possibility ended up being the reality of Frieren having liked Himmel, but Himmel not actually having had a serious interest in Frieren. I don't think that that is likely. I think that that is definitely the least likely of the three scenarios, but I do think that it is possible, given what we have been shown of the characters and of like their relationship in flashbacks thus far. Uh, I'm not going to go into like all the little reasons why I think that that could be the case, just because, again, I think it is incredibly unlikely. But I did want to mention it just for, I guess, the sole purpose, more or less, of if that does end up happening in the show, and I don't seem like super surprised by it, it's because I could kind of see them going in pretty much any direction. Just because, again, I feel like just with the information we've been presented, I could see it. I think it's very understandable with what we've seen so far. So yeah, that's that. I don't even know if we're going to be seeing any more of their stuff in the near future. You know, that Frieren's very much a show that likes to drop something and then kind of just let it sit in the background and not be further addressed for episodes at a time from what I've seen. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get like no more Frieren and Himmel for like 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes, but we'll see about that. Anyways, episode, what am I on? 15, I think? Oh God, I'm on the wrong episode in my player. Hold, please. Okay, now we're good. My bad. Episode 15 of Frieren, starting in 3, 2, 1, go. We are, even though I'm on the right episode now, we are still having this same OP, it seems, which is a bit surprising to me because this is now, there's 28 episodes in this show, right? Yeah. So we are now past the halfway point. And I wonder if, even though this is 2 cours, you know, it's not 12, it's not 11 to 13 episodes. It's, 28, which is more than the average, but 2 cours is usually like 24, 25, 26 episodes. I wonder if they're, even though it's 2 cours, I wonder if because it's all like the first season, I wonder if they're just going to keep the same OP for the entire time. I think that's probably likely at this point. But if not, I'd be down for it. I'm always down to see new openings. Sometimes it's disappointing, of course, when a new opening is not as enjoyable, either visually or auditorially as the previous one, but I'd like to see a new one. Especially because, as I've mentioned multiple times over the course of the past few episodes, other than that character right there, that little shit with the grin, we've now seen everyone in the OP. Oh God! Before we get into the episode proper, remember to like the video. Remember to leave a comment. Remember to subscribe if this is your first time watching the channel and you enjoy the content here. Thumbs up. Always appreciate it. Episode 15 smells like trouble. 29 years after. Okay. Thumbs up. Like the video. Leave a comment. Yada, yada, yada. Engagement, metrics, all that good YouTube stuff. Oh, Fern's falling asleep this time. Oh, like really falling asleep. Conked out. Oh. Cool. Establishing timelines, making it very easy to. I think I've mentioned this before. No, actually, I usually talk about the locations. When they put their little the little timestamps of like X years since Himmel the Hero, I honestly, at a certain point, I stopped kind of getting I stopped kind of finding that informative. So I kind of like that little 4 years, 1 year thing that they just gave us. Boy, I'm glad they endeared me to sign last episode because not a strong start for him this episode. But he doesn't mean older, he means mature. Mature. In, that kind of way. Start trying to change the subject. I think Stark might be my favorite character. I believe I've said that before, but like, oh yeah, this is probably fine. Hey, healer, get the healing. Good thing we picked him up. Okay. Ah, she said the name of the episode. Title drop. Like we've been here before. Okay. So I like that. That interesting. I really like that. Hmm. I've said before that I like getting details and further information about the way that the magic system in this series works. And those are some really cool pieces of information we just got. Huh? Oh. Stark, please. Thank you for the informative deduction. Oh, wow. Okay. I like how professional he just got too. Oh, he was actually being attacked. Oh, fucking Rip Stark. 5 seconds. Okay, so we drag him along, and then we wake him up for 5 seconds, throw him throw him at the enemy, and just say Stark attack. Oh, but they didn't want to leave him behind in the village, even though he would ostensibly be safe there? Ah, she keeps nodding off too. Bro, we can't float both of them. Ah, my God. Okay. That, there we go. I feel like leaving Stark in the village might have been a better choice, especially if you could have just done that there. All right, now we need to find the proper hidey hole. Ah, that'll be enough. That'll be fine. No, I assure you she can. I was actually going to say after Fern fell asleep, but I was too busy being silly. um, I was gonna say like I wonder like even though we obviously we know Frieren's exceedingly powerful mage, uh, we know that we can reasonably expect more from her in terms of just magical prowess than Fern, despite how gifted Fern is. Um, I was going to say like she's said that she doesn't have any kind of defense against curses either, so I was wondering if we were going to see her fall asleep at all. Cool. More sign focus. See how he handles this. Maybe go wake Frieren up, buddy. Unless you were just warming up. Ooh, this music. Yeah, they might. Yeah, I was gonna say. She definitely can't defend herself while she's asleep like this. Not just from curses, but from otherwise. Oh, very thoughtful of him. Very thoughtful of him. Love what we're seeing from him this episode. They're really trying to build out his character quickly, and I think they're doing a pretty effective job so far. Oh, okay. Oh no, that was an interesting. I feel like that was an interesting line there. So, sign. How long is it going to take for you to wake her up for 5 seconds? Ooh. Animation? Easily the most badass thing we've seen her do. What got the. Whew! God, that was sick. Albeit brief. Uh, Poor Stark. So lost, so confused. She patting his head. Yeah, I was gonna say he got his older woman. Oh, okay, there we go. That transition was pretty subtle. I wasn't sure if we had actually moved into the second half of the episode. Oops. Can I help you? Bro, excuse? Y'all made it through the entire carriage ride to the castle without asking his name? Excuse me? Huh? What? What is this nonsense? Bro, look at her ears. What do you mean, what is this nonsense? Ew. Really low on funds. Why are we going on a walk suddenly? Ah, so red hair is unique to that region, I guess. Yeah, just without the birthmark. Rip. Wow. I mean, I really don't like this plan. Ooh, one of her choosing. Not gonna lie, I forgot that was a scar. I thought it was a birthmark. I would throw in a condition that we get to live at the mansion rent free in the meanwhile. Maybe that's being assumed here, but the payment on top of room and board, that's a strong deal. But as far as the actual plan, though, ooh, tasty. As far as the actual plan, I really hate it. Like, so you're gonna have this kid stand in for your son to try to keep up appearances that he's not dead while you rebuild your forces in order to keep morale up. But like, what is your plan long term exactly? Because like, me personally, I'd be more pissed when I find out that you're lying about all this shit. My camera messing up. I feel like I'm moving slow in my OBS. Typical. Would really like a better camera, but oh well. He says while smirking. Rude. Ooh, yeah, this is probably bringing up some unpleasant memories. He doesn't like training swords. Got some trauma. Can he hold an axe for this training lesson? That seemed very intuitive. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Stop calling her that. I don't like it. The funny thing is that Fern is always far more far more motherly towards Stark, I would say, than Frieren is. Fern is like the mom of the group, right? Jesus. Also, my hadn't it been like 2 months by the point where they were like, "Hey, you need to learn etiquette too"? Yeah, she just said the past month. So would have been nice if they started her training sooner. Like, what the hell? Just give her a third of the prep time that Stark gets. What's that about? I hope that they practiced with each other because it seemed like they both had dance part or teachers, which makes sense. But also having a little synergy when dancing is typically helpful. Looks like they are successfully doing what they need to be doing. Very pretty scene. Like, there's not really much to comment on here, right? It's just a very nice scene. Not a huge fan of how that was animated at the end. You tried, sign. I give you credit, but Ooh. Really? Right before a battle? Nah, you. Fantastic maturity from Stark there. Did they not let her like make her selection ahead of time? Come on. Come on, y'all. Look at the size of y'all's library. Like let her pick it out ahead of time. Idiots. No sense of logistics. Interesting. No no normal outro. But yeah. Um hmm. I mean I like that episode. Hmm. Just trying to think if I necessarily have a ton to say. I feel like there was something from the first half of the episode that I wanted to remark on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh, yeah, right. I God, I completely forgot about this because it happened at like the basically the beginning of the episode. Yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit, slightly more in depth on the information we got regarding the magic system in this episode. So the idea that curses aren't just like spooky forbidden magic or like things that like are known to cause immense harm or whatever. The fact that like curses are called a specific kind of magic that that like represents like the unknown elements of demonic magic, I think is just like a really interesting way to like have that classification. And then also to through that conversation and through kind of examining the situation of the village to then also get into talking about like the ways that like the goddess's magic, like holy magic, is just like its own entirely different system from humanity's magic that like Fern and Frieren use, and that like that can't be that is like far more innate. It's not more. It's not. It's something that you can't really learn, at least not as well from what we were told. And yeah, it's just really interesting to get more information about these different magic systems and the ways that they kind of do and don't interact, I guess. Like we know that there is a level of observation and like analysis and stuff that like one magic system can do to the other because that's how Frieren uh, developed the sort of the demon killing magic, right? She took oh god, I'm forgetting this guy's name again. Qual, haha, I got it. She took Qual's killing magic and like figured out exactly how it worked and then turned like regular offensive magic in the coming years into demon killing magic, right? She kind of reversed engineered it and then improved it towards a specific end. So, like, we know that these kinds of magic have a degree of interplay, but seeing some more information about how they also kind of clash and they don't mesh is also just really cool and interesting to see. And it just, again, it just kind of it fleshes out the magic system of the world, and that just kind of helps with making the world building feel more robust. Other than that, kind of like I mentioned during the reaction, I really liked that they followed up last episode with giving Sign another chance to kind of take the spotlight and just kind of show us like the kind of person he is and what he can do and the way he thinks about things. it really did. Again, I did kind of I talked as I talked about post last episode and even in the intro to this video. I did like Sign well enough in the kind of in the main introduction that we got to him last episode, but I did want to see a bit more of him, and I feel like this episode really delivered on just kind of like hammering home like the idea that this guy not only deserves to be here in terms of like in universe, his relevance and what he can provide to the group, but also from just kind of like a narrative perspective, from like a media to audience to like viewer thing perspective, just like making me care more about like the character and just like have a better idea of again just like where he's coming from, where he stands on things, that sort of stuff. Just kind of makes me feel more comfortable with the fact that he has in fact joined the party. And that's I I wouldn't be surprised if there are people who don't really like his addition to the party, but I at the moment am actually a pretty big fan. I think that I was obviously a little taken aback when it first happened 2 episodes ago at the at the end of 2 episodes ago. Um, but I really like what they're doing with his character at the moment, and I think that I joked initially that like I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up dead in 2 or 3 episodes. Uh, but now that we have actually gotten to see him and see him within this group, I do actually I really like what he has brought thus far. And yeah, I think that I think that we just have a much stronger kind of core of characters going forward now. And then in the second half of the episode, we got just more cool stuff with Stark. Again, I really like Stark's character, and this was really cool to see because it's so first of all, it is just such a like weird dynamic though that we got in the second half of the episode with just, all of the everything. I don't need to re-describe, the scenario and situation that we found ourselves in. But it was just like really cool to see, I think, that we had these characters with the Lord and Stark who like were kind of resolving their own personal issues through their interactions and this specific arrangement that the temporary arrangement I should say that they had with each other, and seeing the way that like the Lord wanted to basically he basically wanted to get a do-over, and Stark was like it doesn't work that way. Again, I as I said during the reaction, I really like that maturity from Stark to just kind of recognize that like in these kinds of situations, like it doesn't matter when it comes to these sorts of like interpersonal relationships that you develop with other people, like you don't get second chances. This isn't just like father and son, regardless of which side of that you're on. This is also just like I feel oftentimes relationships in general. Like you can talk about familiar relationships, you can talk about romantic relationships, you can talk about just like any pretty much any kind of relationship. Like you don't really get chances to just like get a do-over. You don't get these second chances. You don't get the opportunity to just like plug and play replace one person with another. In the I would say in the somewhat rare instances where you do, it's typically not particular it's typically very unhealthy. I'm not going to go too in depth on that, but in the few instances where that is something that can occur, it's typically not a good thing. So generally speaking, you don't get those kinds of opportunities in life. And so seeing that Stark is like very comfortable and accepting of what his current position is at this point in his life and with the way that his prior relationships have played out, seeing the way that he's willing to like carry that forward is just really big. And I think it's really cool because it's something that I think is a bit less common to see in media. I think that harboring regrets and that sort of thing is typically something you would be more likely to see in this sort of story. And so seeing that Stark is like very much like looking forward and not looking back was just like I don't know, it and for someone who typically is kind of like playing a bit of the fool and shown to be like a bit maybe not necessarily childish, but at least a bit juvenile, which again makes sense. These characters of like, you know, Fern and Stark, they are teenagers. Um, it's just it was I don't again it just it was really cool to see, and yeah, it just there's a level of maturity to some of the storytelling that happened between the characters in this episode that was just neat. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I don't want to I don't want to ramble too long. If you've watched enough of my videos, you know that there are times where I will talk and talk and talk, but I generally try not to run my mouth if I don't feel like I necessarily have a lot to say. And I don't think I necessarily have a lot to say other than that I liked a good bit of the character stuff that we saw this episode. So yeah, remember to like the video if you even though this is a somewhat shorter video compared to some of the others on my channel. If you made it this far, then I still imagine that you somewhat enjoyed hearing what I had to say. So give me that thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Leave a comment down below regarding Sign, Stark, anything, everything from this episode, whatever you liked most about the reaction or the episode or what have you. Um, check out other stuff on the channel if you're so inclined to do so. We are getting close to wrapping up with Dungeon Meshi. We are going to be starting the Apothecary Diaries. There is a chance that something else gets started as well, but we'll see how a couple of things shake out before I make any kind of commitment to that. And with that all being said, I guess until next time, take care. Bye bye.